acting, how they're acting would be impressive, whether they were in a studio, whether they were coming back to 5-star hotels. But the fact that they're giving us that and having to hike into places every day, wake up at 4 a.m. almost every day.
We're in the trenches, and they have responded so well.
Wow, how did you feel? What was that like, riding a motorbike in the desert on a feature movie scene?
When we were running in Bromo at 5 a.m. and it was probably the coldest day that we've had all trip.
Yeah, no, to try and get feeling back in our extremities.
It's hard to tell an actor to, hey, you're falling off a mountain right now, so like you need to be scared compared to, hey, we're on a mountain and you take one step and you may not be here anymore.
Jeb, you remember like the dust going in all of our eyes and our faces and stuff like that. In the moment, like
One of the only moments where I felt like you actually got angry at me.
What do you have to say? Let's get it.
yeah, the fifth time that Jeb walked by in the Sailor Mire.
The fact that I could call this my first movie and, I was able to do my own stunts is unreal.
I was gonna say that's when you threw yourself just down a mountain with like zero safety gear.
Do you think this project right now would have been possible 10 years ago?
I don't even know if it was possible 5 years ago. Essentially, you're looking at the entire production team right here.
You feel immediately like immersed in where we are.
Doing a low-budget, micro-budget indie film, keep your world small. But we did shatter that rule, right? There's a good chance that we're gonna wrap the entire thing for under $200,000.
And now we enter into the conversation that has me most excited. Sitting in yet another Bali hotel with a small but powerful cinematic crew for the Ring of Fire, an audaciously ambitious indie film project amongst the heavenly and sometimes ominous landscapes of Indonesia. First, introducing Michael Kokering, former travel content creator, director of the project, and oftentimes the camera operator. And now, we have the brilliant and almost mythical legend, Dee Mount from Mount Media, former NFL linebacker whose football talent is only outshined by his tracking shots and his general IQ for cinematography.
Don't forget his parallax.
All that stuff. And last but not least, the skilled and versatile Brian Vera, assistant cameraman, drone pilot, multi-purpose solvent that's just helping hold this whole machine together. I'm Jebediah P. Cornish, the behind-the-scenes director and host of this podcast. Guys, I figure any film production is bound to be complex and interesting, but there's just something about this project that we're on right now that it feels special. There's something different here. And I just want you guys to elaborate on what this project may represent in regards to the current state of production, technology, and the future of independent film. And first question to Michael. Do you think this project right now would have been possible 10 years ago? And if no, why not?
I don't even know if it was possible 5 years ago. At least not to the scale we did it at. You could have gone in and done something really innovative 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, we didn't have what we'll touch on probably here pretty soon, the 40, right? So, and I don't want to make it seem like we needed the 40 to go do the base idea of like getting smaller equipment, smaller cameras, smaller sensors into extreme locations to get amazing shots, but obviously that helped take it to even another level beyond my initial dream, because I was cooking up this project in my mind and even reached out to Dee way before we brought that specific camera that we'll touch on into the mix. But definitely 10 years ago would not have been possible, at least not at this quality or budget. You would have needed a little bit more to do what we did. Is essentially you're looking at the entire production team right here.
Yeah, and if not more gear, you would definitely need more people to help pull this off. I mean, I think the camera package that we choose to shoot this movie with it eliminates a lot of those roles, and it just allows us to really kind of focus and hone in on what we're actually really good at.
And there's no way that we would have been any more inconspicuous than we were, because we were already raising some flags with people. We were trying to be low key with some stuff, and if we were hauling around, a gimbal or any kind of, it was throwing up flags enough, just having an easy rig. So I don't think we would have gotten away with with what we did here.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I always think about just like the GPS elements and just navigating the travel, just like the ability to do that like at a moment's notice now with phone and obviously the coordinators that Michael picked out, and just like the access to technology that just makes you more mobile. You know, booking hotels last minute, just changing things whilst this unpredictable environment. Yeah, like maybe you can speak on that. You know.
Well, 10 years ago, it was just becoming crazy innovative to come to some of these places with GoPros and mirrorless cameras, right? That's what kicked off the whole vlogging community, the cinematic travel vlogging community specifically, right? Was like, hey, mirrorless cameras are getting pretty good, right? You go back to the beginning of the filmmaking YouTube world that I fell in love with, right? It was like Devin Supertramp back in the day, right? Like when that 5D Mark II came out, that changed indie film because you finally had a small DSLR or SLR system that had cinema looking quality simply because it had 24 frame video on a full frame sensor with like lenses, right? Before that, all we had was handy cams, which basically the reason indie films before 2010, 11, 12, when the 5D came out looked extremely amateur is because they were being recorded on hand cams, which just didn't have a cinematic looking frame rate. By no means had like real focal length choice of lenses. So that camera kind of kicked it off, and then cameras got better and better and better. Then you had the whole YouTube GoPro travel world taking off 2015, 16, 17, 18. And all we're doing is trying to take the next step and saying, well, we brought the world of the travel content creator, which is all about trucking into crazy locations with your gear, kind of as a solo guy, right? And then the experience that we have from on set, what I brought, from narrative, like wanting to direct, what he brought from narrative style as far as like true cinematography, what he brought from studio environments as far as ACing, and then the drone piloting skills, and kind of funneled that all into one specific crew to do this one specific task. Like, I think what a lot of people don't realize about film is even though film has structure as far as like the way things operate, every single project, even before you're doing what we were doing, kind of is a one-off working environment, right? That's meant for that project. Because you're making art, right? And then no two film projects are the same as far as the style in which all the people work.
Like packages can vary. Like it's the right tool for the job. And this whole process of us figuring out what we're gonna take over to Indonesia, and it took a long time. Like, not only we had to have a smaller camera package, but we also had to figure out a way to manipulate light. Or did we want to bring, powerful COB lights? But we would need, if we were going to bring those lights, we would need ways to power them.
You're talking about bringing the generator.
Yeah, it was like, damn, thank God we didn't do that, because that would have been heavy in itself. But
well, these are things that he was saying, and what I had to make clear, like, again, kind of like I talked about picking actors and how like, well, I wanted to just go with content creators because they would understand everything I was doing, and then using real actors was like, they'll bring that talent, but will they be able to handle this environment? Honestly, I was having the exact same dilemma early on when it came to trying to find a DP, because as much as I wanted a DP that comes from some of the background that Dee has here and like the knowledge, right, and that real professional understanding of cameras and lighting, I was very afraid that a DP like that, one, wouldn't want to work the way I wanted to work, because there would be moments where you might on paper have to give up something that is quote unquote making the image not perfect, right? And I was like, look, it's gonna be good enough because of the environment. The environment's gonna do so much work for us that if there's a tiny minute thing that a DP can tell is off in like a corner, it's still gonna look beautiful because of where we are, right? So when Dee came on specifically, it was like, look, man, I need you to work with me because like, I wanna nail everything as much as you do. I wanna nail the contrast ratio, I wanna nail the lighting, but like, we will fail if we're like thinking, oh, we can't shoot this because like we don't have time to set up this 60D over here. And I honestly think the mirror system and our catchlight system was just as innovative and just as crazy as our camera package. Like, to really see the images that you're gonna see in the final product, it's those two things working hand in hand. Because if we had that camera doing all the stuff that we've talked about 1,000 times, but we didn't implement the lighting package that we brought with it, it would kind of be for nothing. Because who cares if you can move that camera in 360 if you can't move the lighting around in 360, right? Like,
I want to ask a question. It's like this term that we hear so much, obviously so relevant to this project. The term indie film. It seems to me still like a kind of vague term, like a term that encompasses all different types of levels of film. It's like I'm trying to find in my own head the line that like kind of separates between an indie film and a feature film. And you guys have been real and said this is an indie film that we're doing. However, it seems like you guys are aiming for something more. You're aiming high, even within that realm. I just like maybe asking Dee, maybe from just a cinematic perspective, what is it that you think that makes an indie film over like a feature, and what are you trying to do, I guess, to aim higher and trying to make it stand out maybe within the indie film, or maybe trying to step outside the boundaries? I'm not sure, but yeah, speak on that.
I think when I think of indie film, I think of it having consistency issues. Like there's some parts of the movies that are good, you know, and it's more forgiving because it's an indie film. Like a lot of things get swept under the rug with the actor's performance, or the locations isn't like perfect, or the lighting isn't quite right. It's much more forgiving in the indie film. But when you talk about features, like it's much more control and consistency across the whole image. But what allows us to be so consistent with this project is because of the tools that we had. You know, I keep going back to the camera. Technically it's a genius of a system. You have a video transmitter, so you know I'm like held accountable with how I'm lighting and how I'm exposing, and it's a gimbal, and it's a 8K camera that shoots internal RAW, and you just have all of these features inside of one small package that allows us to be consistent. So I hear the term of indie film, and I don't really equate our project with that, because it's going to be beautiful. Every frame's a painting in this movie.
It's so interesting the way you put it there. It's almost like the way you said it there. It's almost like there's a title put on it to say, hey guys, we're trying our best title. Hey, this is an indie film kind of thing. Forgive me a little bit or something. I'm not sure if that really does go within the definition or whatever, but it's like,
yeah, indie film is like, well, how much money would it take? Like that's what it comes to. Like,
or whether it's attached to an official production company or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I was gonna say, I think he's talking more. That's the perception of what people judge them on. In reality, what actually separates them is just one thing. A true, and by the way, a feature film has nothing to do with studio. That's just the length. If you make a movie 120 minutes long, it's a feature film. It could be shot on your.
I think it's short.
I think it's just 80 minutes long.
I think it
can technically qualify.
I think it's less than that. Isn't it like? I thought it was like 35, 40 minutes.
No. I think 80 is like the cutoff. Yeah, I'm not sure.
80?
It's changed throughout the years. But that's all feature means is about the length. So you can make an iPhone video, and if it's over 1:20 and you want to call it a feature film, it technically could be. What separates an indie film from a non-indie film is just the way it's funded and financed. So if a studio makes a movie, it's not an indie film. If the producers of a film independently either fund the movie or find the funding for the movie, then it's an indie film. Okay, and what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the movies that you see that are massively high quality are indie films. Yeah. It's just after it was made and went on its festival run, then a studio picked it up for distribution, threw their logo on it, and now by the time you see it in your living room or on the theater screen, you don't know the difference that was, which means it was a good indie film.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say here. So whether you guys like it or not, this is an indie film. Yep. However, you're just trying to break that perception barrier that leads to those connotations attached. Uh-huh. But on that, I have a question for Brian, which I think is related to something that you guys haven't touched on yet, but which is clearly a special part of this project, where I think is going to help you guys massively to break that barrier. And I've kind of touched on it vaguely here by this question I'm going to ask to Brian here, but how lucky do you feel being able to fly 6K raw over the landscapes of this just magical Southeast Asian ecosystem?
Well, it'd be beautiful if it was 8K.
That's I think I said 6K. 6K, did I? I think I said 6K.
Yeah, no, it is. No, the Inspire 2 is 6K.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful if it was 8K though. Okay, sure. 6K is
no,
pretty good though.
it's an incredible tool. Being able to, I'll be honest, it's not the drone that is my go-to drone. My A drone is the Mavic 3 Cine, and that's my baby. I can fly it in my sleep. I
What
love
happened
that thing. That's not the first drone that's gone into a waterfall. We'll leave that at that. But yeah, so Mavic 3 Cine took a swim. But regardless, I brought that along as a backup if we really needed it. But we always plan to use the Inspire 2 out here. The advantage of it is having interchangeable lenses was the big thing, and the fact that it shot 6K raw. So the images we got out of that are absolutely stunning. The different focal lengths gave us that extra feel and that different kind of feel that a lot of the stuff that you see from content creators on Instagram doesn't really have that same it just doesn't look the same as all that stuff. Everyone sees the Bali stuff all over Instagram, and the shots that we were able to get out here with the Inspire 2 is just next level. And you can see that a lot of the locals aren't used to seeing a drone that big. When we pull that thing out, they their eyes get big and they go, big drone. Which
is funny because by still production standards, it's a pretty small drone, right? Like again, talking about 5 years ago, 10 years ago thing, like that thing is still super innovative in a professional sense because most drones are carrying these center rigs and are giant helicopters manned by 2 or 3 people. So that thing from a film production standpoint is still innovative. It's just, it can't compete with like what the Mavics are doing on the smaller level. And it's really not a resolution thing, right? Like people are used to seeing Bali, Indo, the YouTube world in 5K now, right? With the Mavic 3. It was really what the sensor provided for us, the sensor size, because
It's so strange the difference that makes,
just the depth, I call it the Hollywood drone shot versus the not Hollywood drone shot. The ability to throw like a 35 millimeter lens on a prime at 2.8 or a 50 sometimes, right? And then have a super 35 sensor. We essentially have a Blackmagic 6K in the air, which is just going to give you a bigger depth of image, a better quality of image, a more cinematic image than you can get with the Mavic 3 Pro, the Mavic 2, like all the different drones that we all love. Like the Mavic was my go-to drone too. When I traveled, the Mavic 2 Pro in my bag, like that thing was my baby. Like took it everywhere, got incredible images. But there's just something about shooting raw, having the full sensor, right? Forget the 6K. The raw and the sensor size and the focal lengths are what make it feel like a film, right? And the images we were able to acquire versus like, I actually hate when I'm watching TV and sometimes you can tell they cut to like a Mavic drone shot and it takes me out of it. It takes me out of the film. And maybe only I can see that because we know what Mavic shots look like. But to me, like Mavics, it's not about the resolution. Mavics are for like high quality commercial work and YouTube videos. But like right now they don't belong on like professional film sets there's just a little thing that they lack. And that's why I was like, I think this drone can change the game. Because you go back a while ago, I was like, that was the one thing I was worried about is the drone shots and like, were we gonna have to have that? And then because the Inspire 3 came out, the Inspire 2 packages went on sale. And I mean, I basically got that entire package, like what was like a $20,000+ setup in 2019 for about the price of a Mavic 3. So that was pretty crazy.
Which is how much for interest sake?
What was that?
How much?
It was like $5,000 for the whole drone package, right? For like a giant Pelican case, the drone, 2 remotes.
No shit.
I had to buy all the lenses separately. Those were almost more than the drone, right? Because they were hard to find. But yeah, I mean, you're talking, I remember in 2018 watching the videos when that thing came out and it was like a $30,000 setup for everything that we have. And I remember dreaming like, wow, that'd be cool to have, but never even imagining like that's a package I'd personally own for a project, but thank God for what? Capitalism and innovation. That thing came way down in price, and now we were able to, like, it literally was a game changer for us.
And I think the Inspire, what it brings for me, like using it over the Mavic, is just the camera moves. Like with the Inspire 2, I mean, you couldn't have two operators. So one person could be flying a drone while the other one is, their only job is to move the camera. And, you know, there's not, like as soon as I see a drone shot like that in the movies, I instantly think of Inspire. Like there's no way that a Mavic can get a shot that's flying over someone, but the camera is like literally tracking them with 360, unless you're in a helicopter.
A lot of the shots that we ended up getting with the 4D, because of how awesome and innovative that was, we had originally planned to get on the Inspire. So like that shot of in the street where Dee's holding the 4D really up high and coming down low, originally that was going to be an Inspire shot, because the Inspire also gives you the opportunity to pull off what you usually would need a crane for. I was actually originally, before we brought the 4D into the equation, more excited to use the Inspire low, right? Like below like a 20, 30 foot barrier, to give that look combined with the movement he was talking about of like what these cranes and like big techno dollies can do in Hollywood. Now, because we had the 4D, we ended up not really ever needing to do that.
I had a dream that both our camera packages broke, and we used just the Inspire camera to like pull off the movie. And it was such a realistic dream, because we were like hand holding the Inspire, and that thing eats up batteries, so we couldn't like really like get as many shots as we had to. But then like getting it in post and like time coding with the audio was like a nightmare. And we were just, I remember,
Only this DP had that dream.
That's a nightmare no one wants to have, you know.
But realistically, if you had to do it, you could do it. Yeah.
I mean, it has a 3-axis gimbal on it. We could have ran around with it.
I was about to say that, and on that point, let's talking about up and down. Let's talk about that Z-axis and the 4D and what this has the ability that is giving you guys to pull off some pretty high level looking shots.
You want me to speak on it?
I was gonna say, like something like that. I mean, I thought you guys were budgeting. You know, how can you get a shot where you're running alongside a Jeep? That seems like that's $100,000.
Well, how I would do it usually is I would probably get something like a Ronin 2 with a Vario easy rig, which is the Vario is about $4,000 with this with the arm, the Serene arm, and the Ronin 2 is what, $6,500 to $8,000. So you add those two, and that's without the camera package.
So how much could we be talking average to be able to get a high level tracking shot, say like a Jeep run in the past? Yeah,
probably like $15,000 to $20,000. Yeah.
And that doesn't even do it justice, because on this project, it wouldn't just be, that's just the simple price of what those things cost. You're forgetting what we would have had to pay to get it into our locations. You were down there in Bromo with us. It was already hard enough bringing our backpacks down in the small bags we had. If we had the gear he was just talking about, you're talking minimum 2 more Jeeps every trip. So
get him on the plane, right?
Yep, getting him on the plane, getting him over. Like the footprint issue he was talking about, like being more noticed and recognized, doing what we're doing. So basically, it wouldn't have been possible.
Okay, so what was the resolution for that then?
Those things are huge. What was the resolution for what?
The ability. You didn't do that. So what did you do to get these shots?
Oh well, we still brought the easy rig, but we didn't bring like the Vario. We brought like the smaller one that breaks down and really fast, and had the 4D. Yeah, so the 4D has a 4-axis stabilization. So any type of push-ins or dolly outs or truckings, it keeps your levels.
So the 4-axis, like a standard gimbal, just having the X-axis and the Y-axis, which is the straight up and down, but the Z-axis bend up and down, so you don't have to do the ninja walk, as they say, when you're trying to keep yourself flat while you're going like there. But you're saying that it operates for up and down, and yeah, speak to me about the innovation of that, or what makes that so special.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a camera on. I don't want to say this because this may come out, and next month they may put something out that competes with the Ronin 40. But right now, there's nothing on that you would want to shoot with on the market that has that amount of stabilization. Outside of it, I mean, you could argue a GoPro, but you wouldn't actually shoot.
Not with that sensor.
Not that
package.
sensor. I mean, that's a
it's
full.
the combination of the two things.
Yeah,
just
we're talking
also the drone.
Yeah, there's nothing that's full frame, that's 8K, that's stabilized that's all in one package on the market right now.
And I think it's important to point out that like we keep harping on this gear, and that's important, but like we were about to and could have done this thing without the 4D. The 4D allowed us to be even more creative, allowed us to be more spontaneous, and did allow us to get shots that are gonna play a huge role in like upping the production value sense of the film, absolutely. But I do think it's important to like point out that like we were fully for over a year prepared and ready to go in and shoot this movie with a Blackmagic 6K Pro as the main camera, using just regular gimbals for stabilization. We would have had to work a little harder, things might have taken a little bit longer, but we could have done it, right? We were prepared for the film to be a little bit more gritty, right? Because the film was supposed to be pretty gritty. Because the Ronin allowed us to be spontaneous, it opened the door for certain shots to not have to be in. It allowed me to sort of like change the style, right? The last couple months of writing the script, knowing we were bringing that package in, I knew it was opening doors. But we were fully prepared to yeah,
Brian,
exactly, yeah.
Bringing it on. Yeah.
So we were fully ready because yeah, like when did you come on? Like less than 2 months before departure, right? Yeah, March.
February,
March. When I was buying it, like when it was like go time, right? So we didn't know until March, 2 months before we left, that we were gonna actually have the 4D, right? Because what we had thought is by the time we realized how valuable it was, we thought it was too late. Like, oh, that camera would have been perfect. Dang it, we should have bought and tested that 6-8 months ago. You know?
A great point that you mentioned is that yes, you were fully ready to take the Blackmagic out, and it would have been more gritty, but the fact that we had the 4D completely changed how this movie was shot. And I think that is what's gonna separate it from other indie films, because people are gonna watch it and it's not gonna have that gritty indie film feel to it. It's gonna have a way higher production value look and feel. And I think that's what's gonna separate it.
Now, like it'll still have the gritty feel because it was
purpose,
intended
yeah.
to in some scenes, but now the scene it really allowed me from a storytelling perspective to separate the two worlds because we go from Bali to Java.
I really like that separation. Speak on that.
Yeah.
Well, in Bali, we wanted to kind of film it as just like how our actors interact with the environment. Like we really wanted to showcase the environment and let that kind of be the focus and let our actors play into that, right? So it was,
Bali.
yeah, it's paradise. So we wanted to shoot it like much smoother and encapsulating. And then Java was like a little bit more rough. Like you see our characters come in and out of frame and in and out of focus. It was a more grittier feel because that part in that part of the story, things are getting rushed. And they're trying to get to where they're going to get to, and it's very intense moments, and it's intense environments. Whether it's a cave on top of a volcano, it's just the visual language changes.
You wouldn't want it to be too smooth and too thing anyway. So what's funny is for me as like the storyteller, where I was actually most excited about the 4D was the dialogue scenes, specifically in Bali. Because like he just said, in Java, I was okay living in a mostly just like when dialogue's happening, going to just getting OTSs out of the way, right? And kind of living in there because all the dialogue scenes are quick. They're stopping, they're having a quick conversation, we're moving on. So I wasn't worried about the look or that getting boring. What I was a little worried about is in Bali when we're setting up the story and we have these long dialogue moments, right? When Nico goes to Suchi's house for the first time. There's so many things that now through these dynamic camera movements, which hopefully go unnoticed when people watch, right? We're able to keep the audience's attention. I was super excited when Nico then goes to Christian's house, right, to get more information, right? We are able to make that conversation so much more dynamic and follow them around, which again, hopefully the audience doesn't recognize that when they're watching because they're just immersed in the story. But keeping the audience interested in dialogue moments is what I was the most worried about, what I thought would be the most challenging. Because I knew when the action was going on, we have the amazing environment, it's doing a lot of the work for us, we have a stabilized camera, but it was in those dialogue scenes, like I remember that's where we almost spent the most night time before, like how do we make this scene more dynamic? How do we like and it was hard for the actors because we did a lot of like not masters and for dialogue and like moved them so that we could change 180 lines, move to this part of the house, have them moving throughout the house while talking, as to not let any of those scenes be boring.
Yeah, because that's the tall tale for me with the indie film is like they shoot your wides, they come in for OTSs, they go back to their wides, and maybe swinging a little inserts, but for us, the camera is never, I mean, rarely just locked off and just, you know, it's always like moving for a certain reason. Like the dialogue scenes aren't boring. Like they're just not sitting there having long conversations.
There's more of a fluid movement to it rather than that rigid kind of feel that you're saying.
That's indie. When you watch indie films, ones that don't end up, you know, really on the big screen, that's exactly what it is. You get it's very clean cut, it's simple, and it does kind of lose interest, you know, in its simplicity. But if you're watching an indie film, you know what you're watching.
That's the TV show. That's what I call the TV show factor.
Yeah.
That's the difference for me between a show and a film. Is a film is supposed to always try to create poetry with the image, where a show can just like have a lot of dialogue and talk, right? An establishing shot of a room, and then people talk for a whole scene. Next scene, another establishing shot of a room, and two people talk. And maybe every now and then there's an action sequence, where a film should always be, again, creating that poetry in some sense, which sometimes is locked off shots that aren't moving, but you're always being dynamic with the way you're telling the story.
More of a fluid journey is the way that I sense to interpret what you're saying. Yeah, it's like
It's just the movements are motivated and
motivated movements. Yeah.
And we had the best of both worlds, because it can take a lot of planning and coordination to make those dialogue scenes dynamic. But we didn't have time to go to these villas, some of these locations, like 2-3 days early and be like, okay, let's plan and block their entire conversation. We had to do that in the moment. And if it wasn't for our camera package, we wouldn't have been able to do that in the moment. Those dynamic moves and changes would have taken a lot more equipment and a lot more planning, where now we could be like, well, I know I got the 40 in my back corner. Let's start blocking it out. Let's kind of watch it as a master. That's what I would do normally while they would be building. And I would see something in the room, be like, and because I knew we had the 4D back there, like, all right, Dee, this is what we're gonna do. He's gonna come out and then you're gonna land here, and then we'll cut, we'll put the camera here, we'll finish the conversation, and when he stands up, we'll go there. Just, the sky ended up being the limit, right?
This term that Dee has referenced a lot, he said guerrilla filmmaking, just the ability to just like kind of, in the same way that you're trying to create that fluidness in the movie, you guys have to work with that fluidness on set, especially because this environment is anything but controlled. You guys have to work with the environment. You guys have to be able to like guerrilla warriors, getting in there, getting your shots, and like you need that mobility. You need these tools that allow you to, like you said, be spontaneous. You don't need to spend half a morning setting up. You got to be ready to go when the lights are there, to go when the people aren't there. You know, it's just it was very interesting to watch from the outside. Obviously, behind the scenes, just the story and what you guys were battling against the whole time. It was fascinating, but we'll more on that later. But
and I think the perfect camera for guerrilla filmmaking is the Ronin, because we take it out of the bag and we pop the arms on, turn it on, and it's already ready. You know, we have to balance it every time we power cycle it, and you know, initialize the focus motors. Once those two things are going, we're up and ready to go in 5 to 10 minutes. So that gives, you know, Michael more time to work with the actors and stuff like that. While, you know, in another camera package, it's like, in other camera packages, it would take, I mean, you would want to build out your cameras the day before, because it's just a lot that goes into it. Like, it just takes a lot longer, yeah.
I want to be careful to speak too soon here, because we've only just finished the shoot, and you know, Michael has to go back to the editing room now and put all this story together. You have to get in with the coloring, and there's so much work to be done yet. But you guys are feeling pretty optimistic, and I'm feeling pretty contagious. I'm feeling pretty hopeful for this project as well. And if it all goes to plan, and you are getting these cinematic shots that you think, with this crazy low budget, you know, we don't need to reference numbers, but you guys are working off that indie budget. You guys aren't working off a Hollywood budget. But if this does go all the plan, how could this style of filmmaking, how could these tools and this direction that you guys are taking potentially start challenging this centralized model of Hollywood? Maybe putting the ability to make high level films in the independent filmmakers' hands.
Well, I can kind of speak on that. I think I think what I kind of how I move throughout the world is like my only thing. I like to disrupt. So like, and then that's in all areas of my life. Like, you know. So, and if you can, I mean, if you disrupt like this industry, like I think it's gonna be.
I saw you on the dance floor last night.
Yeah. I was getting jiggy, man. I was getting jiggy.
Disrupting.
Yeah. But you know, it's like, I feel like once this movie gets released, it's gonna have the same effect as the creator. Like I know when that movie was released, I mean, everyone just kept talking about, oh, it was shot on the FX3 and it was shot extremely low budget and it's just, but $60 million low budget. But with us,
that's a low budget.
for theirs, yeah, it was 60, yeah, I know, yeah, for Hollywood. But for us, we're going even smaller than what they did, a lot smaller, and arguably, you know,
a lot smaller.
Yeah, arguably a much better movie too. So it's like, I mean, in my opinion, and it's, in my opinion, you know, and it's just like we did it with next to, I mean, not next to nothing, but it was very limited.
Like being, you know, Michael and his own personal life kind of thing, but in the whole scheme of things, in comparison to these. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, you gotta understand, anything under $50 million is considered a really low budget, like, wow, movie, right? And then you've got like micro budget movies, which is anything under 2 million. Yeah. And we are way the hell under that, right? Like, I mean, there's a good chance that we're gonna wrap the entire thing for under $200,000, which is like insane. Just when you compare probably anything else that's been made for that price. I'm not saying there hasn't been better movies made at that price, but the style, right? Like where we are similar to the creator in, right? Now it's a way smaller level, is the scale and scope, because there's rules in indie filmmaking and low budget filmmaking, or there's traditional rules, but like any rule in filmmaking, once you understand it, you can start to break it. And one of those big trope rules that always existed was, hey, if you're doing a low budget, micro budget indie film, keep your world small, right? Find that script that's like 3 characters stuck in one house, and then just rely on your artistic ability to make that dynamic, which, I mean, I almost think that's more talent than artistically than what we were able to go out and do. But we did shatter that rule, right? We had 8, 9, 10 characters if you kind of add them all up. We had giant scope locations, right? Like, you're talking a grand adventure visually on the scale of like what you see in a Lord of the Rings movie, a Hobbit movie, like characters going through mass landscapes of mountains and things, and that's just not something I don't think anyone has ever seen in a micro budget level, probably not even on like a low budget that's sub $50 million. Again, the reason the creator got all that hype and like all that attention, rightfully so, is because they made a sci-fi epic, right? That looks like a $200 million movie, but they did it with only $60 million. And that was very, very, very impressive. But I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but like to take that and then look at what we did with basically $0 in the true sense of movie making, right? Like our budget was basically just getting everyone over there, housing, feeding them in a cheaper country, right? While we just like guerrillaed around for 2 months, you know?
I need to speak on that now. There's like, which is a really important factor and something that I know you've given credit to on many occasions, something that we need to continue to give credit to. One of the reasons that you've been able to do this in such a low budget is just this contagious energy that you're putting out, is this passion that you're putting out, the fact that you've been able to get these high-level cinematographers come out here, you know, and help you out with this project, you know, as far as I know, essentially, you know, free of charge. It's because they're seeing the passion. You're able to get these young actors come out here and see this is such a great opportunity that we're getting Brian decide that he comes out on 2 months' notice, you know, whoever it be, getting me missing my flight home just to be on the BTS kind of thing, you know, it's just like, we all feel something, I think, as the fact that you've worked so hard with the preparation, you've created this vision so vivid and so contagious and so passionate. They're going, people want to help out with this. People see the opportunity to just be a part of this, and that obviously, giving credit to that is a big part of what's allowed you to do this so cheaply.
Well, I mean, I tell Michael every time Michael tells anybody about the story, like just a little bit about the story, they want to jump on board in some frame or fashion, you know? Whether, like the guy that...
He never just tells a little bit.
He does it. As soon as he gets started talking on it, he talks from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, and
Okay,
it's just
Michael, we get it, we're in.
we're in. Yeah.
Sure, right.
And the movie just on a philosophical level is just very relatable, and the characters inside of them, they are very relatable, and it is our actors just did an outstanding job at portraying those and really bringing their own little nicks and knacks to those characters too. It's just, the movie feels wholesome, you know, and you'll feel good after you watch it, you know, and you'll be sad after you watch it. But it's going to take you on a roller coaster of emotions, and whenever you do that, you disrupt, and that's what we aim to do.
Not to mention a ride throughout the fucking ridiculous landscape of this country.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's the environment here in Indonesia.
Oftentimes when you're watching this movie, you're just gonna be like, geez, like look at this, like these shots, look at this location. Like this doesn't even look like it belongs on Earth. And you know, I mean, oftentimes we're behind the camera, we're like, dude, this just is insane. Like we're just like stuck looking at the monitor like, this is insane, you know, and it's all shot in 8K, raw, full frame. It's just...
And that being said, one of the biggest challenges for me that I've embraced as like someone who wants to be a director and a true storyteller was to like, okay, we know we have these locations, these environments, we have these beautiful shots. Now, how can I make sure as many of those go unnoticed as possible, in the sense of like you're actually caught up with characters in the story, that of course you're gonna recognize the beauty in the location, but my goal is to make that be just a visual compelling component that doesn't really matter if you don't have like a compelling story underneath and you care about these individuals and this character and get sucked into it, right? And if we do that, combined with that environment that we were able to shoot in, that's how you create my ultimate goal as a storyteller, an immersive viewing experience, right? Like when I go into the theater, right, and when I'm a kid and I'm going in, it's Return of the King or these epic movies, right? Like yes, it's the grand scale, it's the sound, but it's the story, right? If you don't care about the people you're watching on the screen, I don't care what action shots are thrown up, I don't care what environment they're showing up, right? So trying to be able to combine all that on an indie film where like, I mean, I think you put this on the big screen and like, you might have one of those immersive experiences. Like that would be a dream come true for me, to create that immersive experience, the visuals combined with the storytelling. You know?
Which I guess again, it's a large part of that now is what you do from here on out. And I did want to speak to you about that. Like where are you at in your head now? Has your vision of the movie shifted or evolved from all of the pre-production work you did beforehand and coming in and witnessing the adaptions and the pivots that we made along the way, and where do you go now? How do you tackle this project now in the editing room? What's your next move?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly not that much, which is a good thing because I was very, very ambitious, and I was more mentally prepared for like, Michael, you might be being a little too ambitious here. Come back to reality. It's probably not gonna look like the next Dune movie or something like that, right? Which is totally okay. You don't need it to be, right? You don't have $200 million. Like it's absolutely okay. But I think...
Then we started seeing the shots.
Yeah, but like seeing the shots, so seeing these guys, like where I was able to, I don't know how good I did directing in like a true technical sense yet, only time will tell. But what I am proud of myself on is like every time I could step back, like I could see the shots that my team was getting, and they were blowing me away. They were truly bringing that vision to life, technically.
You're on that camera a few times.
Yeah, I can shoot, but it's
part of the movie. I think it's really part of the process as well. You know, an important part is like we've only got two experts here. So they need some help at times, kind of thing.
But it was very key to be able to not do it. And I can talk all day about like the weirdness and like the adjustment for me going from like someone who came from a world of flying the drone every time, touching the camera every time, to having to sit back and like watch someone else fly the drone, watch someone else set up the shot. But like I said, thank God, right? Because like my whole job, I feel like as a director / producer, was to find the real talented people and then put them in position to bring that vision to life. And we killed that technically. And then at the exact same time, the actors were doing that on their part as well. So when I sit back and I'm like, okay, they got the shots, the actors gave me the story, I kind of just came in and did what I needed, right? I'm the one that has the story in my head. So once cameras were up, once actors were acting, for me, it was just these small adjustments, right? Like, hey, Dee, let's actually change this angle a little bit. Sometimes he knows why and can read my mind and I see what you're doing. Maybe he doesn't sometimes, but like we do that. And same with the actors. No, I need you to look over here, do this. And I'm able to just do those little things so I can see that edit flowing in my head. So to answer your question, we're here and like, no, the only adjustment I'm making is like, yo, I need to make sure I do everything in my power now in post-production to have that same thing. Work with the right people, right? Of course, I want to edit this myself. I'm going to play a huge role in the editing, but I want someone more talented than me to have their say, to have like hear their thoughts and have their hand on some of this cutting, right? Sound, you know, everything. So right now I'm just most focused on making sure I go get with the right people and make sure I make the best decisions possible to reward the production team for their hard work by making sure I work with just as talented and just as passionate, more importantly, of a post-production team, right?
Speaking of talent and passion, I obviously don't know all barely any of the details when it comes to post-production, who's going to be involved and all that sort of stuff. I do know Dee is a extremely passionate and just engrossed in the coloring space. Have you guys spoken, and do you feel like you guys are aligned when it comes to how this movie is going to be colored? And I wonder if you have the hues and pigments and moods in your head. If you're envisioning that, and what are you going to do to the colors and to the mood of this already incredible landscape as far as that goes?
Yeah.
If that's not something
to release those information.
that's what I wonder.
We
Yeah.
have to kind of ruin.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay. That's a good point. You know, it's like everything is mysterious and secretive, and you're looking to make a impact with every part of this movie, including so there's no spoiler alerts even when it comes to the color. Eh?
Overall, I feel like, just like I said, like we want the worlds to look and feel vastly different from each other, and we want the moods to be, you know, really kind of different too. So, without giving too much away, I think we're trying to go for like a high key kind of a look in Bali, and then when we get over to Java, everything is turns into low key with.
I don't know what that means, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So,
this is you with that attention to detail, you know.
Yeah. So it's just and that's how we shot it for that. So that's what.
Yeah, but you're thinking about every detail, I think, is what the point I was trying to make.
And I think Dee would probably agree, we'll see, with this statement of like, just like what I just said about editing and this is like, we have skills, like Dee's a super talented colorist, so we know, worst case scenario, we got a badass colorist right here. But Dee would probably be the first to tell you that, like, but if some guy even better than him wants to get involved in the project, then we all would be happy to let that guy, just like I said with editing, right? Like, I only want to edit this movie because I'm just skeptical, am I gonna find someone better than me that I can afford, right, to do it? But as soon as that person comes to the table, just like I could have shot this movie by myself, it would have been half as good, but like I can shoot a movie, I know how to shoot film, but like when I knew Dee was coming on to shoot it, I was like, thank God, I wanted to surround myself by people that were way better than I was at the niche positions, because that's what directing is. Directing is about telling a story and taking a step back from some of the technical side, right?
Getting to the experts.
I used to drone my ass off when I traveled, right? But I was very thrilled to be like, no, like when I'm waking up in the morning and I'm seeing the Inspire 2 in the air while I'm working with actors, it was just like, there's Brian, you know, like, you know, because like that's what he does. He's a better drone pilot than me. Not only does he understand the ins and outs of the drones and the pitches and the yaws and all this boring tech stuff like better than I do, especially on a drone that I didn't have time to learn. The first thing I did when I bought the Inspire 2, what did I do? I dropped it off at his house and I said, you learn this bitch, right? I'm out, I'm still in the script, I'm still in these things, and that was really weird because the first thing I wanted to go do was go fly it. And I still don't think I've ever flown it to this day. I still have never flown my like best drone I've bought, but I don't need to because it's about the project and it's about tools telling the story and the people that are gonna use those tools. You know?
I think Michael hit it on the head. Like if it's like all in all, like we are fully confident that we can knock this movie out of the park. But if there's anybody that's better, especially in post production, we don't mind handing it off, you know, because it's all about the bigger picture.
And that's a fascinating point, and a point to remind me from my perspective coming in here and just being blown away by you guys and your skills and your passion. But then you've just reminded me there, and I have to remind myself that this is a first time thing for all of you. You're a first time director. Dee, this is your first feature movie, and Brian coming in and stepping himself up as well, and it's so inspiring and so exciting as well for this being the first project of this nature for all of you guys. And I just now off the cuff wondering, what has it done for your visions of the future now when it comes to film? Is it like, I know we've just finished the filming process of this, but like the confidence must have grown, and you guys must have learnt so much, and you guys must be feeling so inspired personally now within this realm. Yeah.
Dee will be the first one to tell you this was like training camp where you go balls to the wall. For 2 months we felt like we were at war. And with that kind of training and those repetitions, I mean we're leaving this place 10 times better than when we got here. Now with that being said, we're gonna need a little break after this
a little break for shooting
to recover. But man, I mean, just having those type of repetitions day after day, and we're talking 14 to 16-hour work days.
It becomes muscle memory.
Muscle memory. I mean, our skills are probably sharper now than they've probably ever been.
Especially me, because it was my first time doing this specific type of role on a feature, and I remember being hard on myself, especially a lot of this last week where we were really just like balls to the wall and like, dang, I'm dropping the ball. Like, that's not how someone should direct a scene. But at the same time, you look back and it's like, oh, but like also most people would be able to prep that. Most people would see the location first. Most people wouldn't have to be forced to change a script line or this thing's last minute. So I think given those challenges, all of us did phenomenal job. Like, I knew 8 months ago, a year ago, that like the real key to this getting done or not, once there was like a vision in place and like a goal, was like the team that you select to do it. Because talent on this project was really second to another factor, which was passion, and then just an overall understanding of what we're trying to do, right? And this was almost even bigger deal for the actors than us, right? Because like these are my actual bros, like people that I knew a little bit, like shot with before, and like homies, right? Like we could all hang out outside of film and like have fun together. But like the actors, it was, they come from a different world. So with them specifically, it was like, look, I want the most talented person, and in 99% of scenarios, I believe talent trumps everything. But talent was almost second to this project, because if you had a super talented actor, but they were gonna bail in the middle of the project because of how unorthodox it was, well, then it doesn't matter, right? So we had to have people on the crew from a coordination standpoint, Angel Joe, and actors that all understood that one thing, this unique thing that we were trying to do. And we kept hitting that, nail over the head. Like, guys, you're only an actor when we hit action, right? On the set. The rest of the project, you're basically living more like a backpacker, right? We're going to locations where all you can do is live like a travel backpacker, right? This is all they have. We stayed in a freaking dorm, like hostel style room the last couple nights in Java because we had to extend a few days, and that was all that was available. I mean, talk about backpacker life, right? Like,
oh, that was way less than backpacker life. Backpackers feel like they're living in luxury, sleeping outside compared to that.
Yeah, so just,
that was, bunk beds that was something else.
It feels weird being in this place. Like, I'm like, am I allowed to like have like a shower that looks modern? Like, I'm not comfortable with that anymore,
And on all that note, the first thing I mentioned about, you guys mentioned about the break, I have a very strong feeling in my mind that there's no breaks for this crazy dude sitting in the middle over here. I feel like he's going to be getting straight back to that into that editing room he's been craving the whole time. But most importantly, from my perspective, I have a fucking plane to catch. I need to run and get out of here. This crazy, spontaneous adventure of mine that's just been so empowering and inspiring, and there's such great friendships that I've made, and there's probably I'll find changed my life in a lot of senses. But so much more to be said about the Ring of Fire. So much work on all of your end and my end as well. And I think there's going to be more of these podcasts as well. But on that note, that was awesome. Let's give it a wrap. Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Do we have like an outro that we're gonna play?
We'll throw something crazy in there.